Welcome to the NFL Overtime Podcast on the Mafia Sports Report. I'm your host, Tommy, and I would say joining me is my main man, Mr. Curtis. However, Curtis is stuck in traffic. So we are waiting on Mr. Curtis to arrive to NFL Overtime Podcast. So right now, it is just me. And I guess I will begin the show by myself, and I've done this a million times, so it is all good. So let's just start right away. And by the way, I'm going to actually skip with the Tua talk until Curtis gets here, because as you guys know, Curtis is a diehard Dolphin fan, and who better to speak on this than Mr. Curtis, and he will give us a good inside look at the whole Tua concussion, back injury, ankle injury that he sustained in week 3 and in week 4. Very curious on his thoughts about that, because Curtis, he was super concerned about Buffalo Bills quarterback Josh Allen and the amount of hits he was taking. And listen, I agree with Curtis about that. They need to take a step back with Josh Allen as far as, letting him run so many plays, as far as rushing. But Josh Allen to date has only had one concussion that I have seen, and I believe that was in 2020 against the Patriots, and he did not return. He did come back the following week, but I will say this: he was not out of it like the Tua situation in week 3 against the Buffalo Bills, and he definitely wasn't out of it like week 4. So totally different things when it comes to that, and I would love to know his opinion on that, because I think just Tua being a pocket passer, because that's what he is. You would think he wouldn't be with his size. You would think he would be able to move out of the pocket. He'd be more of a scrambling type quarterback, out of the pocket kind of quarterback, but that's not his style. And I just feel like he, since he's been a quarterback in high school, he has suffered injuries, and he's just a small framed quarterback. And I don't know if he's going to last. And guys, guess who's in the building? Who's in the show?
Hold on.
I had to start the show without you.
You had to, but it's not my fault. It's my wife and kids. I said, I can't go out. Don't worry, honey. We're going to leave an hour and a half before. Don't worry. Storm hits. I'm fighting my way through traffic. I'm like, Tommy's going to murder me. My wife's putting cold water on my head because I'm losing my mind. I am sorry for being late.
This is what we deal with when we have Dolphin guys on here. Constantly late. Captain D, constantly late. Let's see, Beth coming in. Sure, blame the wife, Curtis.
That's what she's there for. Never my fault. You're the best. Listen, guys, let me tell you something.
Go ahead.
Tommy deserves like the Mother Teresa award for dealing with me. He fixes my technical problems. He puts up with me all the time, screwing up, forgetting stuff. The guy is like Mother Teresa, but heavier, but Mother Teresa. So I'm here, not too late.
No, you're fine. I always got to remind him about Eastern time.
Time's a very hard concept. Yeah. Time, dates.
Oh God, it's all good, man. You're here, and that's all that counts.
That's all that counts.
So I started the show off, and I wanted to wait for you because obviously the news of the week, really the 2 days in a row, is Tua, your quarterback, and Curtis. So it's funny because I was talking to the audience here, everybody watching, about how when we had our first NFL Overtime podcast, you were having video clips of Josh Allen. You were super concerned about the hits and how, about concussions, right? It wasn't so much about his legs and stuff like that. It was more about his head snapping back. You didn't like seeing that, which is obviously who likes to see that. But it's now on your guys, right? It's now on a player that plays for your team that is taking these brutal hits, not by running, but just because he's a stationary quarterback. He's more of a pocket passer, and he's also a smaller quarterback. He's not as big as a Josh Allen. Not saying that, big quarterback can't get a concussion.
Actually, he's only, the funny part is he's only about 5 pounds lighter.
Yeah, well, I'm talking about in frame size. I don't think he's as frame.
Totally different build.
So and also Josh gets out of the pot a little bit more. I just feel like Tua is a little bit more susceptible for injuries. However, and also too, it dates back from high school. So fast forward, we're in week 3. We're playing the Dolphins. You know how that game went. Congratulations, by the way. That was a crazy game, and I'm not a shit talker. You know me. I'll just tell you how I feel like the score is going to go, how the game's going to go. But I don't really like. I'm not that guy where I'm like, hey, ha, ha, we're going to run. Like, I don't know. I just don't do that. Not my style. But I will say this. And no excuses. I get the whole, hey, you got to play, any given Sunday and whoever's healthy, you play. But we were down a ton of players, a lot, Curtis. And I felt like we dominated the game. And I want your opinion on that because I felt like offensively we beat you passing, we beat you rushing. And I just felt like the end of the day, time of possession, we doubled you. I just felt like you guys, when the big plays were needed, I thought like the Dolphins made them. And when the big plays were needed, the Buffalo Bills didn't make them. How do you feel? Let's go to that game before we go to the Tua situation. How do you feel that game went? Because I didn't really get to talk to you too much about the game.
Well, to me, I feel, I've been saying it for a while, I think Frazier is great, but he has a tendency now. You got 2 data points where in a big play, he kind of gets a little, dicey. And at 3rd and 22 was a cutoff point for the game. You could have easily sealed it there, but the cover 2 was like the most ridiculous call possible in the 3rd and 22.
Oh, dude. Drives me nuts every time.
So that, I think, is just something that you're starting to see a little bit. Great coordinator.
Yeah.
Dolphins had an excellent game plan. Dorsey came in with the leaking running backs, and that was a good way to offset the blitz. But then the Dolphins were able, they were like, okay, this is what he's going to do. This is what they're going to do. They would take some edge guys and drop them into the lanes for the leakers. And there was hits and then misses. And then when you add it in with all the continuous pressure, that's what really, to me, Dorsey and even Gable to a certain extent is skittish. They're a little bit of a nervous caller, and they have a tendency to fun ball. And I don't know why. It doesn't make sense because Josh Allen is such a difference maker. And if in a tight game like that, you could have played a more patient game. Like I believe, and everybody has different philosophies, but I believe, and this is a very core principle, the offense's number one asset is initiative. They know the play call, they know where they're going, and the defense has to guess. If the defense, though, takes that initiative away and makes the offense guess, then there's a major loss, even if you have a more talented unit. Now, if you have run diversity, which means you come out in shotgun, you come out in single back, under center, you come out in single back, double back, you have different looks, and you're attacking different holes with different looks. It begins, because remember, I was watching the techniques of the defensive linemen, and after a while, it was just gap shooting and not gap control. They did not believe it was so bad in the second half. I had to do the tape and I haven't had a chance. You guys were going into play action before they even hand up what happened. Linebackers were stopping and dropping. As soon as they saw play action, like pass.
Yeah.
And so I felt like Dorsey melted down. He went back to the Allen well and was just he had no look diversity, no run diversity. It was like, let Allen win it all for us. And you guys had a gutted defense. And it was a great game plan and effort and all that stuff to limit us. But that 3rd and 22 broke you. So
that was
the
huge.
overall skittishness, lack of, because that defense in that 3rd and 4th quarter was ready to fold by us. And if you had run that football, it would have slowed down the rush, and it would have won. I mean, anybody who's played football, you get tired from rushing a passer, but it's like an exhaustion tired.
Yeah.
But when you got to stop those runs, you get exhaustion tired, and then you get physically tired, and your body starts getting a hammer. And they didn't bring the hammer when they had us on the wall, and that 122. So I believe you were out coached. I'm not saying we had the better coaching staff all the time, not saying whatever. In that moment, in that game, we had a better game plan, and you guys weren't flexible and adaptive enough in that second half. So, and it almost looked the same too this week when you saw us play the Bengals. They came out the same way. They opened up the gates and they blew it up. They put the points on. It's like, oh, and then all of a sudden they kept doing the same thing over and over and over and over and over. And we had found a way to stop it, and there was no adaptation on the Cincinnati side.
Yeah.
And they won because Howard went out and Tua went down. So I just feel like at this point, McDaniel is a really good offensive coordinator with so much look, so much diversity, attacking every area of the field. And he doesn't have the most talented team. He's got the most talented receivers, and that's about it. The offensive line ain't so hot. Running back's okay. Quarterback's pretty good. So I think that was the edge. Even with the Ravens, we beat the Ravens the same way. They were just so stupid in their second half calls, and we played smart and it was like, so that's the difference. And it was a one moment thing, and that's my big spiel.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with you on some sense. I don't know about out coached. I'll be honest with you there, because besides the one play call with Frazier on a 3rd and 22, which he does it constantly. It's so frustrating. I have to admit, as a Bills fan, we do it all the time. This soft zone, whatever you want to call it.
It wasn't even Tampa 2. It was a straight cover 2. It looked like
Tampa 2. No pressure onto it. Like
rushing.
I don't understand why you wouldn't bring a Milano or a Edmonds on a blitz there. Like, just put some pride. Why would you give him all that time? I don't even blame Jaquan Johnson, because he got beat, but look how much time there was for Tua to throw the. You're going against Waddle, you're eventually going to get beat. Like, if you give that much time for a quarterback, I don't care.
Hit that hole between the safeties like nobody's business.
And every time they bring Edmonds or Milano on a blitz, they get home 90% of the time. Watch the film, or they're in the quarterback's face. There's a pressure of the quarterback. So that is probably the only part. But I will say, like, the turnover in the first quarter, when we were up 7-0, we got that.
That was a bad set of calls.
Was running, which was so odd because we don't do that, which is weird. Running Moss back to back and then fumbling.
Listen, Tommy, when you're a linebacker and you're looking at the quarterback and he's set in his back set, you see that handoff from the draw. It's so clear.
Yeah.
But when that quarterback's on the center and he snaps that football and he turns his back and the ball's low and you got the guys in front, you don't know. You've got to pause. All his draw runs, they are so predictable, and
I can't. I hate him. I hate him, and not only that, it's not like Moss is tearing it up. You know what I mean? He's not. I'm not saying he's awful, but he's not. Also, he's not very good. So why would you go back to back Moss runs, and then you and on 1st and 2nd down of all things, and then we're passing on 3rd down, and then boom, sack fumble. You guys had the ball, I think, at the 5. I mean, something crazy. So it was almost like a gimme touchdown there, right? And then I felt like the defense did their job up until the 3rd and 22.
They were all down,
and we were missing a ton. And Christian Benford got hurt in that game, broke his hand. We had an undrafted rookie come in, which was crazy. And I thought he played very well. I thought they played Tyreek Hill very well. Even Waddle, for if you take away the 45-yard pass, I thought they played him well throughout the game. Offensively is where I was disappointed because I had a feeling we were going to hold you to about 14. And if it wasn't really for that fumble and the easy touchdown, I was about right, 13, 14 points. I thought the offense was going to do their thing, which is the slicing and dicing up the field, which we did on the first drive. I like that play style. I like what Ken Dorsey's doing on the 3-yard pass, a 4-yard pass, get it out 5-yard pass. Then go a little deep. Go up the field like that. It worked out great. The 3rd and shorts are really hurting us, and they really hurt us that game. The 3rd and shorts, 4th and shorts, we cannot get a yard. For the life of us. And then, like you said, the running is like, I get it if it's not working early, but eventually defenses wear out. That game was a grueling game on both sides. Both defenses were spent. I felt like Zach Moss busted out a 40-yard run at one point. I think it was in the 3rd or 4th quarter.
Yeah.
Why not get Singletary and Moss a little bit more involved after that? Clearly,
Singletary opened up with that real nice run.
16-yard run in the beginning. So I don't, listen, our offensive line too, you got to remember, no Mitch Morse in that game. Last minute, did not play. That's a huge loss for the center. I believe Spencer Brown left early, though he was getting killed against Ingram. But either way, he goes down, then Ryan Bates goes down with a concussion. So we were just like, I do got to ask you real quick, because there's been a little chatter too about your stadium. I think it's fine. I'll be real with you. I think it's fair play. It's home field advantage. But I can also understand the argument. You understand? I get the argument as well, because if you come to Buffalo, it would almost be like if we had some cover over the snow somehow and heaters blowing, and on your side, the opponent's side, we had nothing covering. We had no heaters over for you. Like it's almost like, or almost even like if we get the ball and we're allowed to shovel our area, we have the ball, but you're not allowed to shovel your side of the football field. So
that's my point. That's what
I get it. And not only that is, I lived in Florida, and so did you. I understand the humidity. It's not so much about how hot it is, because it could be, listen, there was days it would be like 90 degrees, but the humidity happened to be pretty decent, and it wouldn't really feel that. It would feel like 80-something, and it would be fine. I go play basketball, it was good. But there would be days in Florida where the humidity was awful, god awful, and it could be 85 and it felt like 95, and you were just dying. And people don't really get it if you're not from Florida. And those players sitting on the sideline just getting baked in the sun is brutal for hours. Think about it. Hours you're sitting there. And like Josh Allen, man, did you see Josh Allen after the game? My God, he looked so spent. Like I'd never seen Josh Allen so
63 passes and 10 runs?
Yeah, and runs too. You can't, but I mean, just saying, he looks so spent, man. I've never seen anything like. Let me get to some comments here. I've been missing a comment. Amy coming in. Magic Mike is head coach. He's a trip at the podium through authentic. Good for you. Good for you guys. You only have 2 players, Hill and Waddle, and the O can't wait for December's game. No heat stroke. Let's go Buffalo. So yeah, I am ready for the rematch. So I do want to get to the Tua thing. So in that game, I believe it was the second quarter towards the end. I want to say the last 5 minutes of that second quarter. Matt Milano came in with a late hit. By the way, that wasn't. I've seen hits like that not get called. I'm going to be real with you. It wasn't that bad. I would want the call, and Josh would probably scream for the call too.
I don't think it was malicious.
It wasn't. Yeah, but I mean, I've seen a non-call is what I'm saying though. Sometimes when a player pushes, but it was super late. So you got to call that. I just think it looked like he kind of lost bounce, and I've seen that a million times. Quarterbacks, trust me, quarterbacks do that all the time. And he fell back and whipped his head. And I thought I had it here. Let me see if I have it here, Curtis. So let me put it on the stream here. So I want your thoughts on this real quick, if we could play it here. So here's Milano. push. By the way, that was close. That was closer than I thought. Like, that could have not been a penalty.
Yeah.
So he gets up here, he shakes his head right there. All right. And they call that what? The cobwebs, getting the cobwebs out. Like boxers do that too. There he goes, grabbing the head again. Still grabbing the helmet. Okay. So 4 days later, here is the Bengals game.
Brutal.
So Tua taking his time here in the pocket, gets whipped bad, and his hands lock up. He is totally out of it here, right? Clearly a concussion. Never seen that before in a football game. So let me get to you on your thoughts on this real quick. So Curtis, so on the Milano, I know that you were talking because we messaged email about this, and you said, yeah, the team doctors, and not only the team doctors, but they have a separate doctor the NFL has there to a doctor or whatever to say if he can go back in the game or not. But I want to know is, looking at that on your, like, being real and honest, not as just the fan and whatever, do you think that was a concussion and Tua just kind of said, hey, it was just my back, and kind of lied his way into the game, back into the second half?
Well, I just did a real long podcast, and, first when I saw it, I said concussion. When I did podcast afterwards, I said, well, they're saying it's not a concussion, but to me, it looks like a concussion.
Yeah.
But I had no evidence. And for me, I don't like to make statements based on conjecture. To me, it looks like a total concussion. But, you got a whole series of evidences. So last night after post game, I said, oh, man, this is a bad deal for Tua. And I said, but let me get on to the game here. And I wanted to wait till the next day to do my studies on it before I opened my yak.
Right.
We talked that night, and next day I did my studies. And to me, several things became abundantly clear, not from my own genius research, but listening to all the voices, compiling the key data, and finding the key points. Now, one point I think I have is a pretty original idea, semi-original, but these 2 points encapsulate everything. Now, when he hit the ground, first thing he did was grab his head. So when you're hurt, there's a lot of all these points are from what I've heard, pasticing it together. When you get hurt, the first thing he grabs your injured part. Got up, grabbed his head, wobbled around. Everything said concussion. Nothing said bad back. I've had many, many concussions. I actually deal with post-concussion syndrome with all the mental things. Like right now, like my head got beat up and my son had ADD, found out that I have it. And I wake up every day, 2 headaches. I wake up every day not so right, hard to think, cobwebs in my head. I have a huge cabinet worth of supplements and all this all stuff. And I even have a pharmaceutical thing I take every once in a while just to get myself going. I have had so many concussions starting at the age of 8 through many different ways. So I totally understand concussions. You know what I'm saying? Like, totally get it. And this was clearly appearance of a concussion. Now, we had no evidence, but the evidence now is pretty clear. So what we got was their doctor and the independent doctor said he was okay. But the very first thing that was said, it was a head injury. Now, I forgot who it was, former football player said there is actually a stipulation in the concussion protocol that says if somebody has gross motor inability, he is not allowed to re-enter the game. Now, when earlier in the game, he got his bent back, and he could have had a back injury along with a concussion.
Right.
But when you go, one time I did it in Pies. I fell off a building and was totally blacked out. Everybody thought I was dead. Fell head first. My hand was broken and popped out. The cops show up. The ambulance shows up. And I wake up out of the blackout. I look at my hand, and they're like talking to my friends. What's going on? What happened? What happened? I go, no, I got it. I got a dislocated hand and a broken wrist, and I think I got a concussion. They do this thing on me. And like, you're right. I went to the hospital. They fixed my arm. They never checked for my concussion. But I woke up out of that blackout able to process.
Right.
Now, those doctors cannot definitively diagnose concussion or not without an MRI or CT scan. But the fact that there was gross motor skill issues meant that it was a mandatory, no matter what he said, to not re-enter the game. Now, the new news is Miami had a checkup every single day of the week to determine whether he had a concussion or not. Now, it will be resolved one very easy way. He should have had an MRI or a CT scan, and that scan will tell whether he had a concussion or not. If he did not receive those scans and that investigation, there's no way for them to know other than anecdotal evidence, and they are now liable for malpractice or even worse. The only way to diagnose is an MRI or CT scan. So all they need to do is provide that to show they did all due diligence to check that he had brain trauma or not. If they provide it and there's nothing there, no problem. If they didn't, that's a whole can of worms. And then, and then going into this injury, if you check that one instant, it starts out slow and then there's just a massive increase in velocity. That was
like a whiplash almost kind of too. Yeah.
Yep. And even if you didn't have a concussion before, that would have given most people
a
concussion right there.
Yeah, and what I was reading into, I forget who said it. I think it was the guy I sent you, Chris Nowowski, who's a neurologist or whatever. There's something called second impact syndrome for concussions. So normally you get a concussion, you're supposed to generally, I think they said 7 to 10 days for you to let your brain heal. Tua was back in 4 days through the back injury, which so he was saying that
you had back injuries before, right?
No, I haven't. Yes. Okay. So yeah, actually I have. So let me go on my, I have a couple stories real quick. That's funny too on that. So on my back injury, I'll start with that. When I was really, really young, Curtis, I was big into sports, football, soccer, basketball, everything but baseball. I'm terrible at baseball. Anyways, started off playing soccer. It was my first sport I ever played, which I think it's funny because I think a lot of kids with their first sport, even if they suck at it, is soccer. It's like easy to get kids into soccer, right?
Yeah.
You know. So I was a power forward, and I remember running toward the ball, and I slid for the ball. I slid like a sliding tackle, and I couldn't get up. And it was the oddest thing, and I started crying because I was young. I was like 10 or 11 or something like that. But I couldn't get up. I felt paralyzed. And my coach was like, get up. You know, coach don't know. And I'm like, I can't. I could not get up. So they call so they call the ambulance. Ambulance takes me, go to the hospital, and I wind up like they check everything. It seems fine. And I get function in my back again. I start to walk. I'm good. But they're like, you got to go see a chiropractor. You should get x-rays, all that crap. Wind up going, and they find out I have like something wrong with, my spine not connecting to one of my disc at the end or something. So they had to correct it. And I had to go over and over and over. And I was really skinny at that time. So they put me on steroids because they're like, look, if you want to play sports, you can't be 6 foot. I think I was like, at that time, 5'11" or 5'10", and I was like 115 pounds. I was really skinny. I was super skinny as a kid, growing up. And so they put me on steroids. Yeah, they put me on steroids. I gained weight, obviously. It said I had to gain weight. I had to get fat in my back. So if I fell again, it wouldn't.
Oh, wow, protect you.
It wouldn't. Yeah, it would protect me. So that was my back injury. So. But since then, obviously my back bothers me from time to time, but I will say I don't fall on the ground. It'll tighten up, and everyone's different. But I will say, like, major back injuries, usually people go down, they stay down, they hold it back.
Don't move, yeah.
They don't move, they get stiff.
Go like this and lean forward on somebody.
100%. I've also had ankle. I broke my ankle. So and they're talking about he had also had an ankle. No. Now I said it last show. I had a friend that was in Florida, and he he was with his girlfriend, went to McDonald's. It was like 10 o'clock at night, and they came over a bridge. They just got McDonald's, came over a bridge. They were at a light. So I want to say it was like 500 yards, 700 yards from the top of the bridge to the light. He's chilling, and the last thing he says he remembers is grabbing for his radio that was out of his car dashboard, right? That's all he remembers, right? So he called me from the hospital. He's like, bro, you got to pick me up. I'm at the hospital. I got 18-wheeler hit me. They fell asleep at the wheel coming over the bridge. And I didn't believe him because I'm like, yo, this guy, no way. I thought he was not joking, but I didn't take it serious. Pick him up. He didn't look bad, Curtis, right? He had a little cut on his arm. I go to his car the next day or 2 days later. Bro, the car's like, he could have died. The car was literally half a car. Like, he got so lucky. The front seats were bent. Okay. And I'm like, and he had a concussion and they let him go. He don't remember anything from that point up to waking up and the radio's out. And in his mind, the most important thing at that time was the radio. You know, that's a concussion because you just got smashed and you're worrying about a car radio. That's, you know what I mean? Like, so my point is I think I've had one concussion, me personally, playing football. And I was out for like, I don't even know how long. I just remember getting someone picking me up. It was a little foggy. But going back on Tua, like I said, I've watched boxing my whole life. When a boxer goes down, they get rattled. Yeah. Usually, the first thing they do is they shake the cobwebs out. That's I would say it's 90% of the time they do that, right? They're trying to like get their senses back.
You don't
Tua did that. Yes, Tua did that instantly. I mean, that was very, very fast. Then started to walk, and he not only was he. If it was his back, he would have fell right away. He would have been hurt. He would have grabbed his back, but he dipped to the left and he fell down. Then he got back up and still grabbed his head and leaned, which is clearly concussion. So I don't understand why. Now I get the coach. I get what he's saying when he came out and said, "Look,
he's lying. He's lying."
Right? Because how do you not know? You've been in football.
Anybody look. Right. Anybody who would look at that. Maybe it's not a concussion, but you would look at it and say, this guy's got a concussion. It was even labeled a head injury. My thing is, if the concussion protocol says there is any gross failure in motor coordination, you're not allowed to go back in, then it's on. Does the coach know these rules?
Right.
And did he dismiss him?
Or does he care?
Right. Well, that's it. We don't know the motivation. If he's responsible to know those rules, then he is responsible. At this stage, it's the trainers of the Dolphins and the independent trainer. If they didn't adhere to that rule, they broke the protocols. But then you got to ask yourself, if a guy gets a bad knee injury, they get an MRI. So maybe even if they said, oh, well, we know he's got a head injury, let's, whatever. Afterwards, the game, they should have said, hey, let's go check. He's got a headache. And they could explain it away at that point. And just got an MRI to confirm. Because if you're a doctor, if a guy's got a bad leg, oh, my leg hurts. Let's see if it's broken. Let's see what's an MRI. It's whatever. So they just totally try to pass this on unless they got the MRI or CT scan. If the Dolphins do not provide an MRI or a CT scan, then their staff and the independent doctor are negligent, which is amplified by the fact they didn't follow through on the concussion protocol. And if they cannot prove that they did everything in their due diligence to make sure this kid was all right, then they passed this kid through and they put him in the game knowing he was screwed up, and then they're responsible. And the coach is also responsible too, because he should have been like, hey, man, I know you got the play or whatever, but this kid looked rattled to me, because I've had every kind of concussion. I'm telling you, I've had every kind of concussion. And there's sometimes the only one that I didn't like was the one I fell on my head. I was blacked out and it was like mist. And then like maybe 5, 6, 7 minutes later, the cops were there. And then all of a sudden I woke out. Other times I've played. And there's a couple times I got concussions where I saw stars and then the game actually slowed down for me.
Yeah.
Like I played better after the concussion. Then there's others where I had headaches for 2 days and there's all different kinds, the way you bounce back.
Right. But like a boxer, right? Let's go back to boxing.
Oh,
right?
exactly.
So let's say a boxer's in there is getting whooped, right? Which I see a lot, right? Boxers love to do what, Curtis? Go out on their shield. right? That's an athletic thing. That's what every athlete, for the most part, does, right? They
train for
that's what they do, right? So like it's up to the trainer, right, to go, man, I can't let you out. I can't let you go back, right? I can't let you fight another round. I gotta call it. You know what I mean?
That's what the towel's for.
Right. Now, because sometimes the refs might let it go, right? Some refs are different. Some refs are quick to call it. Some refs are going, hey, go for it, right? And there's boxers that died in the ring, right? From bleeding in the brain. So my point is, same thing with football. Like, so if you're the head coach, you see that. Like, listen, there's so many tablets. Let's say even if he didn't see it, you telling me you had 5 minutes till halftime, right? Now you got halftime. You telling me that nobody came to you, not a trainer, not nobody, with a tablet to show you, hey, man, I don't know, man. Like, look at the replay. Like, he don't look right. Like that, even if you're saying he's right, he's good, I don't know, because maybe he just wants to play, and Tua's trying to prove something, which is very possible. I felt like even the doctors, because you got doctors coming out on Twitter, you got doctors coming out on TV now going, hey, from what I saw, and I'm a near out, I do this for a living. There's no way that wasn't a concussion. Like, I haven't heard anyone, not one guy, say, no, man, he was good. That's probably a back injury. Like, not one person. And then you got the guy saying before the game started, which is crazy, saying, listen, if Tua gets another, like, this is going to look really bad. And sure enough, it happened. Enough, it happened, which is unbelievable that it happened. And it did. And it happened bad.
Well, you also have to look, everything. I'm like, I guess certain people, I like musicians I listen to. I love Lauryn Hill. And Miseducation of Lauryn Hill is like a great album. I love it to death. But there's a song that Everything is Everything. And if you go back, you look at Brian Flores saying, if I was his father, I wouldn't rush him out on the field. You guys are not going to pressure me into starting him. And then all of a sudden, he's starting without the offensive coordinator and the team making a decision. And it's actually out on Twitter before Brian Flores can even make the decision. And Tua going, my dad goes, what is this? That you played two plays and they start you? Like, he didn't even get extra reps going into the game. So Ross and Greer were willing to sacrifice this kid back in 2020. They were willing to go behind him to try to get Brady and Watson. Everything is everything with this. And unfortunately, Brian Flores, what do you say about him? He was against those guys, and he was trying to fight to keep Tua out. And then even in 21, when he was injured, he was slow to get him into the Ravens game. And people were like, oh, he's trying to ruin his career. Now, people are saying, McDaniel loves him. He's taking it. Maybe he does, but he wasn't protecting him here. Once I found out that the protocol is gross abnormality in motor skills means you do not come back, there was massive crossings of etiquette, professionalism, medical practice, everything. Everything was breached. Everything was breached.
Yep. So it's going to be interesting. So now they're doing the investigation, which you got.
Probably go nowhere.
It may not. You know how the NFL is. I'm very curious though, with all the backlash now, even if it doesn't go anywhere, how long do the Dolphins wait to start Tua? You know what I mean? Like, I'm very curious because it still seemed like your coach was like, hey, he ran on the plane back. We're watching MacGruber and everything is cool, man. Like, I don't know. Like, it just seems like he's not really taking it as serious as it should. Or maybe it's just me. Maybe he's just a rookie coach and he's trying to, avoid that.
I don't think he's a big guy.
No, I don't either. 100%.
I don't know anything. I like him, but I'm not sure if he has the character or the gravitas at this stage to stand up to, who knows if he got the call.
Yeah, I don't know either. We don't know. We know nothing.
Who knows? I don't know. All I know is that ownership and the high brass of the Dolphins has been willing to cut anybody off the knees, to sacrifice anybody, whether it's coach or player. And so I don't think he's a bad guy, but that's
it's going to be interesting. I'm going to tell you right now. It will be very interesting to see when he comes back.
Got to be around Ross and this ownership before people this is mind-blowing.
Something's wrong. Yeah,
how many scandals and disasters? How many? Yeah. It is. There's not one ownership, not even, and the Patriots are like the masters of it. And at this stage, they're looking like the choir boys next to my wonderful Dolphins franchise.
Yeah. Speaking of the Patriots lost to Baltimore, and it actually was a close game up until fourth quarter when Baltimore pulled away, 37-26. But the Patriots lost Mac Jones. Looks like he's going to be out maybe a couple weeks, 2-3 weeks, possibly with a high ankle sprain. It's a big loss for New England, man. I think they got Hoyer as their backup moving forward. And what's your thoughts on New England going forward? I mean, do you think this puts them in the cellar, because they're already having a tough time with the new OC? So now you got Hoyer coming in, who's been around, seems like forever now. What do you feel about that?
Hoyer will do all right. I mean, it's amazing that they played the Ravens pretty close.
Yeah. And they did. But that's because the Ravens defense is terrible.
Oh, terrible. Terrible.
Their secondary continues to be one of the worst, if not the worst, in the NFL. I said it before. An upset, by the way, and we both didn't pick this. The Colts.
No, we did not.
The Colts beating the Chiefs 20-17. Holding KC
showed a little bit, didn't he?
He looked a little better, though 20 is nothing to write home about. However, but the Chiefs defense is pretty good. And
what did Taylor get on a day with the Russian?
So I'll go to the stats real quick for you guys.
Thank you.
No problem. So Matt Ryan was
I disconnect and I have to get back on.
You're good. Matt Ryan had a good day, 27-37, 222 yards, 2 touchdowns. Nothing crazy, but it was an efficient day, right? Jonathan Taylor, 21 carries, 71 yards. Once again, nothing to write home about, but efficient. 3.4 carry, not the best, but they gave him 21 carries, which is
that's a lot of carries.
Receiving, Pittman finally stepped up with 72 yards and 8 receptions. And I don't know who this guy is. Let me see here. Jay Woods had 2 touchdowns. He's the tight end. Probably won't happen again. You know how that goes. Everyone else covered. You're going to go to the one guy. But the real story is the Chiefs' offense. Patrick Mahomes, 20 of 35, 262, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. And Mahomes led in rushing, 4 carries, 26 yards. Not good. You want to get your running game going there. And he's not even really a running quarterback a lot of times. He tries to stay in the pocket more. And the receiving, Kelsey had 4 catches, 58 yards. So, yeah, I mean, they held him in check offensively. The Colts defense really is what, to be honest with you, won the game.
That was supposedly the model that Ryan was coming in for. Stout defense, good protection, good running game, and Allen adding some icing on top with some clutch fourth quarter play. So, they didn't have the first week they should have won, but the stupid kicker missed like 17 kicks. And then the second week was a disaster.
Yeah. Amy, yes, we needed that case. Thank God. Like, we did get some losses that was a big loss for Bills. Now we need to, of course, handle business this weekend. But yes, that was big for us as far as the AFC. But it's so early in the season. It's so early. Let's see what else. I did want to. Cleveland beat up on Pittsburgh 29-17. Do you think it's time for a quarterback change? You think it's time to just move on from Trubisky and see what the rookie's about?
Yeah, but you know what? The beauty about the Steelers, and they are patient. They are patient within the team. They're patient within the entire organization. And that patience, they're not worried about going to the Super Bowl this year, making the playoffs. They got their cred. They're good. So bringing that kid along a little bit slower is probably better. Even if Trubisky loses a couple, they're not really worried about it. They got this kid, what he was, a 15th or 20th pick or something like that.
Yeah, I think he was a later round, first round. Mm-hmm.
They're just letting this thing ride out, which is smart. Give the kid, because remember, the veterans want to win, and they're going to wait for Trubisky to play himself out. And once he plays himself out, where they play him into a situation where it's stagnation, the veterans are like, all right, I got it. All right, you know. But if you do it too early, then you can build animosity and frustration if he struggles. They almost always do it the right way. And so I just think they let it ride. And eventually Trubisky he's going to play himself out at some point, whether he gets injured, whether they're not able to make the playoffs, or whether he stinks it up and they're like, all right. They could get
I can see that maybe after I got to check when their bye is, but I could definitely see it if they have a late bye, possibly after a late bye, mid season, somewhere around there. The Raiders fall 0-3. A little bit of a surprise because people thought the Raiders would be a playoff team or at least try to be a playoff team, content for the playoffs. Tennessee, I told you guys after the Bills beat them up, I told you guys Tennessee is not that bad of a team. Tannehill's not that terrible of a quarterback. I had a lot of Bills Mafia on here, Curtis, saying, oh, Tennessee, it's nothing. They, blah, blah, blah. And I said, hey, can't count Tennessee. Listen, Tennessee won the AFC last year. They're a pretty good team. Now, yes, they're minus A.J. Brown. I get that. But they still have a good players there. They still got Derrick Henry, one of the best running backs in the league. Tannehill is still a mid-range quarterback. He still can get the job done from time to time if the rest of his team kind of helps him out there. Derrick Henry has a good game. I think Tannehill is good enough to lead the team to victory, and they did. They won 24-22.
Big win.
It was a huge win. Tannehill did Tannehill things, 19-27, 264, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. That's about what Tannehill does. Derrick Henry, 20 carries, 85 yards, 4.3 carry. He did his thing, 1 touchdown. So Raiders are 0-3. I don't know what the percentage is, but very low making the playoffs for teams that start 0-3. I'm going to guess. Also, another surprise that I didn't see coming, Jacksonville beating up the Chargers in LA 38-10.
That team's already gutted.
Yeah, I get it, but so the Jacksonville 2-1, Chargers fall 1-2. Herbert already feeling the season early on.
They lost Bosa. They lost Slater.
Keenan Allen is hurt. Who's out again this week.
Team's got no luck. They're cursed.
I told everybody
you said that at the beginning of the season. I'm like, I don't know this team, but
I told you. I tell you every time they have it on paper. It looks great. They start off usually pretty good. This I will say they're starting off bad. Like usually they start off decent and they start to fade at the end, injuries or whatever. I think now they're just getting hit with injuries. They're getting hit with just bad play, just a lot. So Jacksonville 38-10. That was still a surprise in LA.
Oh, yeah, 38-10 is a surprise.
I mean, that was a spanking. Here's an interesting game, and I do want to ask you about this. Green Bay beating Tampa 14-12. What is going on with Tom Brady? He just doesn't seem like he's in it this year mentally. Could it be his his personal life going on where the wife didn't want him to play and he came back and maybe
he got caught lying and cheating and stealing and trying to do double dealing. And then he lost half of his offensive line. So
there's a lot going on, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Because this is not Tom Brady football, correct? I mean, this is not. I mean, they are not. No. They're not looking right. I mean, I get that the offensive line isn't what it was, but he just doesn't seem.
Yeah, but you know what?
Tom Brady, right?
Tom Brady is only Tom Brady if Tom Brady has protection.
Oh, 100%. I agree with that. Yeah, I agree with that.
Look. Guys like Mahomes and Allen and, maybe to a lesser extent Herbert, and those guys like that, they're able to deal with a lesser line because of their size, their movement skills. But really every other quarterback, there's got to be a synergy between them and their offensive line. Offensive line has to be average at least. And then, the better the quarterback, the higher from there, the more production. But they need offensive line. Tom Brady needs his offensive line. He needs to have that time. You go check Tom Brady last year, his protection, it was mind-blowing. It was so good. I mean, some of that's about him setting up the calls, the protections, and knowing where to get. But at the very heart of it is actual offensive linemen that are quality with, setting up the blocks. And he doesn't have that yet. And so he'll look old. And he'll look
he is.
tired.
He is. I agree with you. He's always had one thing about Brady, even in New England, he had very good protection.
Oh, yeah.
Very good protection.
Scarnecchia with the Patriots is one of the most underrated and unknown coaches. He was as valuable as Belichick. The guy was a literal. I mean, you have very few coordinators that are special, and this guy was the special of the special. He would take like anybody in there and have them use all three techniques.
I know.
Man blocking, inside zone and outside zone, and it was unbelievable.
I agree.
What this guy could do.
Guys you didn't even hear of. What amazed me about those offensive line be guys literally. I remember playing New England, throughout the drought years or whatever, and we would, game day or whatever, like, they're missing 2 offensive linemen. They just called up, or they just signed this guy. Yeah, this guy, Jim Truckett. He hasn't played in 2 seasons, and Jim Truckett is amazing.
Yeah, I know.
It's like, we couldn't catch a break. Like, no matter what, they always protected him well. But anyways, Denver.
I would love to have been a fly on the wall. I mean, like, love.
Oh, yeah.
And hear Scarnecchia coach.
Sure.
And just be around that, to understand what, you see it, but you don't see it. I mean, what this guy did was.
Yeah.
And as soon as that he disappeared, they were never the same. And they might have won a Super Bowl without him. I think they won a Super Bowl without him. They won the one against Atlanta. But not the same team.
Also, real quick, Beth coming in. It may not be Tomlin saying no to Pickett. It could be the players saying they are more confident in Trubisky. I mean, listen, if he wants to make the move, he's going to make the move.
Oh, yeah. He could call you up, Beth, to play in.
Right. Like, Tomlin is one of the best coaches of all time. Like, he's
got so much cred, dude.
Yeah. And I actually like Trubisky, but they just are. They're not. He has the offensive line there is not very good. Trubisky's under fire.
Under the word journeyman in the dictionary, it says C. Mitchell Trubisky.
Sure, he's going to be 100%. But I think he'll be a great backup in this league for many years. I don't. He got an opportunity, and it sucks. It may not be the greatest opportunity, but he is an opportunity, and he's just not working out so far. Either way, Denver wins 11-10. Denver is just not looking right either. What's your thoughts on Russell Wilson, Denver? What's going on in Denver, man?
I think Russell Wilson was taken by the body snatchers because that guy's got that look in his eyes like the lights are on, but nobody's home. Right. I used to like him, but he used to be like a different guy.
He's changed, right? Yeah.
It was like how the spirit of Hollywood went into him and stole his soul and brain.
Yeah, man.
And there's something not right there. And also Hackett, man, that guy is like those knees are rattling. That guy is a total like shaky dude. He's skittish.
And then on Monday Night Football, I believe it was Dallas and the Giants. Giants lost 23-16. I thought I predicted Dallas would win this game. I just thought the Giants offense still isn't there yet. I don't think Daniel Jones is the answer either in New York.
I don't think Dable's the answer.
Yeah, you know how I feel about Dable. But either way, I will give Dable credit. He has had the team playing well on defense. They're keeping their team in games. And he also resurrected Saquon Barkley, who's having a very good season to start. So not bad. And of course, that could be Saquon Barkley who's getting healthy. But they're in their games. They're in all their games that they play. This is their first loss. Dallas. Rush, and I know this is going to ridiculous, but is there any kind of controversy, or Dak's just going to come back and take the job?
You got no choice. You pay him too much money. Pay him 45 a year, 43 a year, whatever it is, 41. Forget about it. There's no controversy. What are you gonna do?
And by the way, by the way, prime example why you don't pay running backs.
Oh,
in Dallas.
Forget it. And he's been watching. I hate to say it. I don't want to say it like this, but he hasn't been the same back since he got the contract.
I know. That's what I'm saying. Listen, I used to be against that. I used to say, no, you pay whoever, you pay the guy who played. If he earned it, you pay him, right? Like I was all up for that for a while until you started seeing that the longevity of the running backs are very short. And they're very rare to these guys stay good past 5 years, 4 or 5 years. They start to decline. There's not a lot of Adrian Petersons and Frank Gorers.
Talent levels almost wiped out of the position.
Yeah, like I go back to the Rams. Who's the running back? Gurley, who got the big contract, and he got a little setback, and he just never was the same. Got paid and rode off to sunset. There's so many prime examples of other running backs getting paid. Ezekiel Elliott is another one. They just don't. It just they take abuse. They take a lot of hits, and they break down quicker than another.
I think it's
yeah. There's also a lot of running backs. And money talks.
Well, if you go back and you look back to our day. Running back was like one of the prime positions. I mean, obviously, always quarterback has been, but running back was the centerpiece of just about every team. You had your Marinos and your Elways and this and that, but the talent gravitated from the Pee-wees to the high schools to the college. One of the prime positions was the running back. And, if you took Walter Payton and put him in today's game, or Barry Sanders, or Earl Campbell, or, Tomlinson, whoever, one of these guys, Eric Dickerson, they would be unbelievable. But these guys were elite of the elite. They took way more abuse than these running backs take, but the talent level's not there. And, the money's not going there. So the talent level's not going there. So almost all these backs are interchangeable. And there's no reason to pay big money for any of these backs. I mean, obviously with Henry, you're going to pay the big money. But you can see with Henry, if he doesn't have the offensive line, then he's not going to get his go either. So the running back position, sadly, is in a very bad position right now.
Yeah, it's just it is. There's very few. Even look at Kamara too. Like he's just not the Kamara I remember. Look at who else? Even so, you got a couple. You got like maybe a handful, right? So you got right now. You got Jonathan Taylor. You got Derrick Henry and Dalvin Cook. Correct? Those are the prime guys right now.
I wouldn't count Dalvin Cook. I mean, I would say he's one of the best running backs now. But if you put him in the NFL 30 years or 20 years ago, he wouldn't have the same. I don't see him as an elite running back. I see him as a good running back. Henry is an elite running back.
He is.
Taylor, I don't see as an elite running back. I see he's a good running back. There's a difference. I mean,
the guy for the Panthers, McCaffrey.
He's too injured. He's really good, but that guy is like paper mache.
He is. He's like, by the way, speaking of the Panthers, have you been catching the little shade that's going on with Baker Mayfield and his receivers?
No. They don't
like him? No, well, I guess Baker said something about getting open or something, and then they interview one of the receivers, and he didn't. I guess he kind of like hinted at maybe he needs to find us or something like so there's already problems going on in Carolina with Baker Mayfield and the receivers. And I do remember OBJ having a problem with Baker Mayfield. So I don't know what's going to happen there. It's going to be interesting if he's already,
worn out his welcome.
yeah, his teammates are already like, F this guy. I mean, like, it's going to be interesting, what they do there in Carolina, because now you got a former first round pick. You got two of them. You got the first overall pick, and I forget what Darnold was, but he's up there.
And then barely equal to a third round draft pick.
Yeah, and what are you going to do? So, anyways, moving forward. So we got week 4. We already know what happened. Thursday Night Football, Cincinnati, taking care of business at home. That was a close game. It was a close game up to the fourth quarter. I watched it at the bar where I work. I was like, damn, man. The Dolphins defense has impressed me in the last 2 weeks against us and against Bengals. I think they stepped their game up. I will say the Xavier Howard, that is something to look at. I don't know how bad his injury was, but I saw him on the sideline with massive amount of ice or tape around his legs. So, yeah, that I don't know if that's a hamstring thing. I don't know what's going on there, but that's not groin. Okay. Yeah, that's not good. Hey, Thomas, what's going on, brother? Appreciate you coming in. That's not a good injury. He's one of the best corners in the league. How do you feel about Cincinnati so far going into the season? You like him?
I'm sorry. I got a long comment. What would you say?
That's okay. How do you feel about Cincinnati so far into the season?
Zach Taylor, to me, he could be a good. I got my drawer open over here. I'm a disaster. I believe he's got talent, but he's stubborn. I believe he's a little bit like Dorsey and Dable. Hey, Bex, what's going on, bro?
Mikey, that's Mikey.
Mikey.
Mikey got it. Mikey, remember, Mikey got a non-contact injury.
I know. I contacted
him. He's doing better. But go ahead, Curtis.
Feel better, my man. Yeah, you know what? I don't think they protect the quarterback. They don't accentuate the quarterback. It's all about going vertical and letting Burrow carry him, make him look good. And I just really don't like their offense, the game plan. I don't like their concept, the philosophy. I mean, I like it sometimes, but you've got to have more than one tool in the toolkit. You know what I'm saying? It's like
100%.
He's got one tool in the toolkit. Vertical, baby. Burrow, figure it out. That's what he's got.
He ain't gonna he's not gonna make it a full season though. If they don't fix that offensive line. I mean, you guys were getting on him too. Like even Herbert, right? Like he is just getting beat up back there.
Quote unquote.
Yeah, he's getting taken to him. So anyways, so yeah, they won 27-15. They fall to 2-2. You guys fall to 3-1 or 2-1. Let me see. 3-1. So right now you're technically, even if we win this week, you're still 1 in the division because you beat an AFC East team, which is us. So we need to win so we can, not go 2 games under. So speaking of Buffalo, we play Baltimore. At Baltimore, it's going to be probably rainy there, a little windy from the hurricane. Going by there or somewhat by there, I guess. How do you feel this game goes, man?
Yeah, I am totally not a Bills fan. I really like Allen, though. And I really do. I like Allen. But you guys, I don't understand. You got Gilliam. You've got Singletary and Moss. You got Saffold. How do you not have a semblance of a run game? In a game like this where it's windy and rainy, are you just going to sit there and go shotgun and throw all day? To me, it's like, it's just, you guys got so many tools. You got so many assets, but I believe it just doesn't make any sense. To me, like running that football, getting play action off it is the key to this team being undefeatable. Because Allen, you've seen him. You could throw the whole thing on him, and you're going to keep things going. Sometimes you blow teams out. But if you have to get this defense worried about a run game, not able to put their ears back, not knowing exactly what's going on, then how do you stop the guy? But it's just a reliance on a super talent, and I don't understand how you don't have a run game. And it just doesn't make any sense. I mean, if let me tell you something. I'm going to do a podcast if you guys come out in 3 wide and running draw plays all day, I'm going to lose my mind if you lose. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. So here's the deal. So I listen, everybody knows I like Devin Singletary. I feel like Devin Singletary is underused a lot, and I don't get it because the average is like 4.6, 4.7. Like, he gets yardage, he falls forward. Like, he's a good running back. I mean, he's not great, but he's good. The offensive line should be capable enough of opening some holes, but man, Curtis, I'm telling you, I don't know what it is. And we even brought in Cromer, who's a great offensive line coach. But I don't know. I think the thing is, I don't think we're good between the tackles. I think we need to start trying to get more to the outside runs. It did hurt last week. Mitch Morse being out. He's good on the pin and pulls. He was not there. You saw what the center did. A lot of bad exchanges to Josh Allen too early on. Then he got hurt.
Tommy, how do you go into a season this prime to go to the Super Bowl?
Yeah.
And the guy who gets the hands on the football first, you don't have a backup that is ready to snap the football. Like, it doesn't make any sense.
So you're talking about a backup center?
You gotta have a quality backup center.
I agree. I see. You know what's weird? I thought Mance, who came in last year, did a fine job, and Ryan Bates was also a backup center. You got to remember he did very good. But we put Ryan Bates the right guard.
I don't like it, right?
Yeah. But who knows? Ryan Bates could be the future center when Mitch Morse retires. He's a really good offensive lineman. He could go at any position. But I think the ultimate plan was to get Ryan Bates to be the center when Mitch Morse moved on, because Mitch Morse, I think, has a couple years left on his contract. But Mance filled in good last year. We put in Rotten, whatever the hell his name is. And
Van Rotten.
Yeah, Van Rotten. He just, like bad snap after bad snap. It's even the shotguns. They're low to the left or high. But also another thing, Curtis, I will say, I mean, have you seen this? I mean, this is the most I've ever seen to start a season for an injury report for the Buffalo Bills. Like, this is wild. And a lot of these injuries are, besides the Micah Hyde injury, who's out for the season, and Doyle, who's out for the season, a lot of these are like week to week. They're ankle injuries, hamstring injuries. Like, these are nothing that's going to long term, but they're lingering. They're like, ankle, like Ed Oliver hasn't been out there since week 1. Christian Benford breaks his hand. Now he's going to be out 2 to 4 weeks. Gabe Davis, sprains his ankle, non-contact, and practice after week. We're just like, this is crazy, the amount of injuries. And I hope, the only thing I can say is I'm glad it happened early in it, I guess. And I hope it gets better. But that is also another reason. You got to remember, too, our offensive line, and that's kind of on Brandon Beane, has been playing this musical chair crap. We drafted Deion Dawkins in 2017, I believe. I could be wrong on that, but I believe he was 2017. And other than that, like, Spencer Brown was in 2021. I mean, we haven't really drafted a lot of offensive linemen that are quality. We've been getting these one-year guys, guys that just can't hold up, the Felicianos of the world. The Darrell Williams isn't good, but he wasn't the future. You gotta protect Josh, and you gotta open up the running game. Like to your point earlier about the play action, and I say this all the time, teams are eventually going to go, they're not running. Like, why are we even play actioning anymore? They know we're not running. We've thrown the ball 58 times at this point. Like, just forget about the play action because it's not coming. Same with the RPOs. Josh Allen doesn't give them up. It's like it's almost like he just doesn't trust them, right? He trusts himself more than he trusts the running back. And that's sad. I don't want to see that. 3rd and 1. I should be able to rely on Zach Moss to pick up a yard. You know what I mean? Like, I should be able to rely on my offensive coordinator to be like, hey, I have faith that their offensive line can move.
But Tommy, here's the problem. Okay, so you're on a football team, and you go through the offseason, you go through preseason, and you got runs and you got passes, and we're going to do all. And then the season comes, and you never do the runs. All you do is the passes. You're not building confidence. You're not building ability, because the more success you have, the more times you try this stuff, the more you figure it out and grow in it. And that's not just from within a game itself, because the more times you run the football, the more you're wearing the other team out. It sometimes takes,
I agree,
a few not so hot runs, but if you're getting one or you're getting two, that's not the greatest, but you're getting something rather than a draw that's nothing or a pass for nothing, and you're at least giving the defense something else to look at. But you never do that. And then game to game, you have no history of success, and so there's no confidence. Yeah. So there is an obstinate. You know what? Sometimes I think that Dable got his job through Allen, and that's through the passing.
I agree with that.
If you pass the football with Allen, you look good, and you're going to get a job. But if you run the football, you don't look like a genius. You know, and you've got – listen, if you're an offensive lineman and you're supposed to have the initiative, but the guy on the other side of you knows you're going to pass protect, and you're like ready to – I got to get back. You're already lost initiative. You've lost confidence. They've got the initiative. You're playing defense when you're on offense. Mm-hmm. But if that guy on the other side's like, is he going to rush? Is he gonna drop? What is he gonna do? Then there's hesitancy, and then it's initiative, and it emboldens offensive linemen. Offensive linemen love to run block and hit people. They love it.
They love it. They love it more than pass blocking. I agree.
It brings purity. I know where I'm going. I know who I'm hitting. I'm not droid about dropping. And so all this pass protection, you're like, oh, these guys suck. They can't pass protect. It's not just that. I mean, maybe it is, but if these guys are always in pass drop, you're screwing them hard, because you're just saying, well, I might as well give them the play before the play starts. All right, guys, ready, set, here, we're doing this. Hike.
No, I get it. Like, I wouldn't even mind if we, and I said it last year, like, pass to open up the run. If that's what you want to do, that's fine. I'm good with that. But you got to run it. You can't do it just 6 times. Like, that's unacceptable. Like, Singletary should have at least 13 carries, like, 12 to 15 somewhere.
You guys got a good look, Tommy, you guys have a very good defense. And you got Allen, who can give you that score. Why are you so impatient? Why are you so nervous? And we got to score now. Why? I mean, yeah, maybe some games you're playing KC or something like that. But
I don't know.
When you beat the KC, you wrecked them because you were running the football. You had Allen do all those cool little designs.
But I don't know if we're I slightly disagree there, because I think under Dorsey, if you watch the first 2 games, it's not fun ball and it's not deep. Like, go back and watch any of the first 2, even the Dolphin game. The way Dorsey, at least. And what I'm seeing is more of a slice and dice, work your way down the field. And I love it. Like, I don't mind that. Take what's given. We didn't do that under Dorsey. Under Dorsey was what you were calling the fun ball, throw it 50 yards, 40 yards, these crazy gadget play, whatever. Like, it works some games and some games it doesn't. With Dorsey, the first 2, even beside the running, and I get that part, he has to run. I totally agree with you there. But if you watch our drives, the ones that work, even the Dolphins' first drive, there was nothing that was crazy on that drive that you're like, oh my God, Allen's just whipping it downfield. It was more like, take what was given to you. Kumaro, 10 yards, right? And then Kumaro gets hurt, whatever. But Isaiah McKenzie, 5 yards, right? Diggs, 4 yards, 6 yards, 3 yards, 4 yards, 5. It was more about taking what's given. Allen never used to do that. Allen was more just going it deep, or running the ball. I felt like Dorsey's kind of taken that way. Even the running. Allen didn't run as much the last 2 games. Look at the Titans game. The game only had a couple rushes. So he's dialed it back a lot with that. I just wish, like you were saying, we got to mix the running a little bit more. I'm not asking for Devin Singletary to run 20 times.
Right.
But he has to get something.
You guys are running the football a little bit, but 50% of them are draws, and then probably 30% are off tackle.
I agree. Yeah, that doesn't work.
There's no run diversity. Like Allen going under center with a fullback and a running back, attacking between the tackles, A gap, B gap. But you guys, this is one thing I like about McDaniel. He attacks all sectors. When you come to the line of scrimmage, you don't know where he's going to attack. When Dorsey's there, I know where he's going to attack. He's going to attack the edges, and he's going to attack the deep, and maybe deep middle. And that's it. I never see slants, really, or nice combinations, or I run inside. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's never that stuff. He attacks all, and, it's push and pull. So if I'm working the flanks with the pass, and then I'm running at the flanks with the pass, there's only push. There's no pull. You've got to get guys. Oh, he's going inside. Oh, it's outside. It's going outside. It's going inside. He's doing deep. He's short. You know what I'm saying? You need a bit of hesitation, and that hesitation is how you beat the opponent, rather than just saying we're going to attack and this is what we do. We're going to beat them, and there's no trickery. There's no art of war. There's nothing like that, and that's why I think you guys struggle.
Listen, the short yards we are doing. Like, I don't think we're taking what's given. I do wish that the slants would be more. I wish Crowder would get more involved in the offense. Like Ken Dorsey would get him a little bit more.
Week one, right?
Yeah, get him involved in the slot a little bit more, because that's what he does best. He was supposed to be like the Cole Beasley to this team that had the better yards after catch, and it just seems like we're not really using him right. McKenzie also, get McKenzie more involved. He's the speedster. He could do a lot with speed. Speed kills. We all know that. I agree with you on some points, but some I don't. You also got to remember too, Ken Dorsey, we are now going to week 4. So he is in week 4 of his offense coordinator position. This isn't Ken Dorsey. Yeah, he hasn't been in the scene for, OC for 5 years, 10 years. Like,
I didn't like the meltdown at the end, though.
I love that. I love it. I see. A lot of people disagree. A lot of people, they don't mind it. And I will say this: you saw it on camera. There's a ton of coaches. A lot of the times you don't see that, and there's a lot that's happening more than you think. It's just not on camera.
Oh, no,
also, there's coaches that have meltdowns all the time. Bill Belichick broke a phone against us. Just as bad. There's no difference between that and what Ken Dorsey did. Same thing. There's coaches that have meltdowns on the sideline, that get in players' faces, that fight with players on the sideline. Eric Bieniemy and I think what's his name had Mahomes had something little altercation on their game. You have coaches that trip players that are going, like, there have a lot of things. Coaches lose their mind too, right? That's just like
what I'm saying.
But I wouldn't want. But my point, I wouldn't want Dorsey to be like, like I don't mind the anger. I just think it just happened to be on camera. I don't think that's not going to stay in him. I don't believe it.
What I think is that, when you're calling a play and you're running the offense or the defense, emotions very, 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 very rarely play an asset. More than anything, they'll actually cause a hindrance.
Mm-hmm.
And even if you look at him with that drive where you guys get down to about the 1 yard line, and then he comes back and he runs an RPO. It's like, you know what I'm saying? Like, to me, when I watch him call, it didn't make sense. I think he got way too into it. And you've got to be objective and removed, because the players are full of emotion. You've got to remain calm, cool, decisive. And there was so many instances of it felt like emotion. Like he got locked up. Everybody knows that when you get emotional, you get locked up, you get fixated. And there was no real halftime adjustments. And he just kept doing the same thing over and over again. They're going to rush me. I'm going to leak. Here you go.
This is You
got Josh Allen. All you do is get to the line of scrimmage on first down and go to the 1 and run the football. and you run them how many times before that? You do it two times, you win a game, it's over.
But games like this are good for guys like that, guys that are learning, right?
Yeah.
You learn, and I'll say this: Ken Dorsey is a big competitor. Players know that. Matter of fact, players want him in the box. Right? He's a former Hurricane player. He was a two-time runner-up for Heisman. He's a really one of the best college quarterbacks ever. Like he's national champion. He's a competitor. It's in his blood. He's a former quarterback. They're fiery. But my point is, he's also a new OC. So it's a totally new game for him. So games like this, losses like this, I don't take it so bad because it's week 3. This is a lot of lessons learned, and he's a smart guy. He's this really smart guy. I don't think he's arrogant. I don't think he's like one of those guys like, like Dable couldn't get out of his own way, right? Dable went into games with a game plan. He was sticking to it, and there was no in-game adjustments. Like it didn't matter. And I truly believe Ken Dorsey is not that guy. I believe Ken Dorsey's smarter than that. I believe that's why Ken Dorsey was, highly recruited. Like people wanted to hire him as OC. I think he's going to be a coach one day, but these are lessons learned as far as getting maybe a little bit more emotional, also just someplace. But I personally don't mind it. And I know a lot of players around the league also are saying, hey, I'm cool with it. You know what I mean? I like the emotion, but I understand what you're saying is as well on that side of things. But I think he just got caught on camera. And I think maybe it was a crazy game, hot, grueling. I think he was feeling it for the players too. I don't think that was so much mad at himself, or I think that was just, he just got caught up in the emotion. And I don't blame that. Like, I'd rather him, if he would just be like, just put his headphones. I don't know if I would like that either. Like, I want a little fire. I want a little anger. So we'll see. Hey, I think he's young. I think he's going to learn. And just like a rookie quarterback, right? You got to go through these bumps in the road. And this was his first test. And we'll see what happens. Now he has more tests to come. We're playing Baltimore. Even though Baltimore's defense isn't the best, it's going to be rainy. What's he going to do when the pass ain't working? What if it's too windy, right? We've been in these situations before. He's going to have to go to the run. So what's he going to do? Is he going to stick with the pass, and make it an ugly game? Or is he going to run?
It's a big game for his evaluation. That's a lot of people like what I do, and what I try to do. It's not. I believe in evaluation, and so you take past, present, and you sum it up, and then you look to the future. But a future can be changed, and all you can ask is for somebody, at any level, is to learn from your mistakes and get better next time. And so, he needs a full year before you can say, "Oh, this or that." But,
100%.
I like most of his week 1. I like most of his week 2. His week 3, I thought was really, really not.
That was rough.
Yeah,
it was rough.
So if he and it's a game you guys can lose. It's not. That's a game like Miami this week against Cincinnati. That's a game they're expected to lose. You get these games throughout the year. You're not going 17-0. You get 4 or 5 games you could probably lose. This was a good one for you guys to lose. And it was a good one for us to lose. Yeah. But now the next game, you're hoping to see certain things get fixed.
Yeah. You got to see some. You got to see some changes. You always want to see some. Learn from your mistake in the last game. You want to see some improvement. So, of course, what's bothering me is the injuries. We got to get that fixed. I mean, I don't know how you fix it, but you got to. We signed Xavier Rhodes. He already got hurt. It's like. We just cannot.
No, I didn't hear about that. Really? He already got hurt?
Yeah,
How did it hurt?
Hamstring.
Practice?
Hamstring. So, bro, even the offensive lineman, I forget his name, Sullivan. Or something.
Watch out. He might be going down next. You see, look,
he is down. He hurt his foot. He hurt his foot. I do want to move on. We talked about the Bills a lot. KC Tampa. Mahomes versus Brady in Tampa Bay. How do you see that game going, man?
Casey's got still a good defense. Tom has got to bounce back.
Yep.
That defense at Tampa is really good, though.
They are.
Mahomes, I don't know. To me, Mahomes the last couple of years, he got a little sloppy. and he did a lot of running around, not really following design plays. I saw him being skittish a lot, relying on Tyreek Hill, helping him out with the scrambles and stuff. Mm-hmm. So he's going to have to – I think he's going to have to settle down into his game and, go on script. A lot of these guys, they're so talented, they just go off script. What Russell Wilson goes off script, he holds it too long. Watson, the same thing. Even Allen can sometimes do that too, because you're so talented, But if they can stick within the framework, it's really going to help you instead of playing backyard football. So it'll be interesting to see. Mahomes has got to adjust himself. They lose this week, and it could get ugly. I mean, Tom, it could get ugly for both teams. I mean, it's a long season, so it's not the end of the world.
Yeah, both 2-1.
I'll go Tampa.
Tampa at home. Tampa.
Yeah.
It's so hard to not pick KC, and these because KC they're a high-powered offense when they want to be. They could put some points on, but Tampa's defense has been lights out. They've been playing very good, keeping them in games. It's their offense that concerns me. I think Mike Evans returns this week after his 1-game suspension. Brady needs to get his mind right. Clearly, something's going on there. Offensive line needs to protect. This game could go either way. I'm going to go Tampa because they're at home. I am curious, though. That game may be moved, though, Curtis, because of the hurricane.
Oh, yeah, I know, right?
So it really technically may not be a home game. Just a heads up. So that could – man, I don't – because they're not at home, I'm going to go KC because that game won't be in Tampa. I think they're, they lose the crowd there, little crowd noise. I don't know where they're playing, but it could be more Chiefs fans. You never know. I'll go KC,
I hope
but
Tampa does lose because I'm sick of Brady after that whole affair.
Yeah, but I wouldn't be shocked if Tampa wins. I think it's a toss-up game. Honestly, you could flip the coin on that game. New England and Green Bay, Hoyer. So they're going to the Packers 2-1. New England 1-2.
We got it, Packers. Let's go next.
Packers. Yep. That's an easy one. Do you see an upset here with Jacksonville at Philly? 2-1 versus 3-0. You see Philly too much?
The Phillies just looks really tough.
Okay.
They look a real solid team.
Yeah, I think Philly wins, but man, Jacksonville seems to be upset. So, but I have Philly as well.
I think Philly, the tree, man, without a doubt.
I think Philly's offense right now is on a roll, but their defense has been giving up points. So, I mean, the way that Jacksonville's been scoring the last 2 weeks, I think they're in the high 30s. It could be a closer game than many.
Philly's got a good defense, though, from what I recall.
Yeah, and Josh Allen's streaky on defense over in Jacksonville. He can have some massive games.
Oh, yeah.
So you never.
That other kid, too, who's really good. The rookie. What's his name?
I don't remember, but yeah, he's been playing very good. Then you got one more game. Oh, Tennessee and Indy. So Indy 1-1.
I got a lot of
yeah. What a weird record. 1-1 going against Tennessee 1-2. That's an interesting game.
I'm really excited to see that game. I actually am going to spend tomorrow watching Tennessee and Colts games all day to try to figure things out. That's a really exciting game.
That's a tough one. You got two of the best running backs in the league, right? You possibly argue that 1 and 2, right? Going against each other.
They're in Tennessee, right?
They're in Indianapolis, Tennessee, and Indy. So they're in Indy. That is a tough game to call. I think that's going to be I'm going to go Titans again. I think the Titans wind up winning one of these close 24-21 kind of games like they did last week.
I'm really excited for that game.
Yeah, that's going to be you're going to see two running backs go at it. Put it that way. Two running backs.
I think they got their next matchup like 2 or 3 weeks from now. It's really close.
Yep. One more too. Denver 2-1 going against the Raiders 0-3. Denver hasn't been playing very good, but they're winning.
And their defense is good. The defense is good.
Yeah, their defense is what's keeping them in the games. Their offense stinks so far. They're going against the Raiders, who are 0-3, but they're at home. And what do they got to lose right now? Right, they need to win desperate. So they're a desperate team, trying to get their first win. Do they win? Do they get their first win against Denver and Las Vegas?
I think the Raiders are in like rebuild mode because they have so many picks over the last couple of years. They had so many picks, like it was ridiculous, and almost all of them are gone or on their way out. So I think they're going to actually lose.
So we have an update here, thanks to our wonderful chat. Amy says it will be played in Tampa. Thank you, Amy, for that, because I haven't looked. I just what I heard last. So okay, so I'm gonna go back to my original pick with the Bucks. Since they're at home, I'll go with the home team with that, and I'm trying to see if there's any other matchups here. Rams at San Francisco, 2-1 versus 1-2 San Francisco. Jimmy G didn't look too good last week. They lost. Do you see San Francisco winning at home against the Rams on Monday Night Football?
I hope not, because the Dolphins have their pick. So that kind of gets me a little bit emotional. I'm hoping they go 0-0 for the rest of the season, but I think they're gonna. I think San Fran's gonna win. They
San Fran at home.
Yeah, they've got it. They got a tough team.
Oh, real quick, how you feeling about the Lions? So I'm over here in Detroit. What are you feeling about their coach? You liking the coach? Ex-Dolphin fill-in, Dan Campbell.
I wanted Mr. Campbell to be our coach, but we got queasy eyes. I mean, queasy eyes. We got taco eyes, Gase instead. So
yeah, I don't understand.
I like them. I thought they should have kept him, but the owner here, he likes pocket protector kind of guys. That's why he had upset issues with Flores and didn't want Campbell and didn't like Sperano and Joe's Philbin and stuff. So I like him. I think they're doing good. I'm surprised they're doing as good as they are.
I mean, they're 1-2, but they're at least making games fun for the fans. I'm from Detroit, trust me. Our sports town here has gone to shambles. Even though I'm a Buffalo Bills fan, I'm a Pistons fan and Tigers fan. Both Pistons are finally starting to do better, but Tigers are terrible. And the Lions have been bad since forever. And it seems
my second favorite team was the Lions. Barry Sanders.
Love Barry Sanders. Best running back ever.
Like my football of those two guys.
Yeah.
My heart died.
Yeah. I'll argue with anyone over the Barry Sanders. I'll argue greatest running back of all time. I'll argue with anyone over that. I think Barry Sanders, with the offensive line he had in Detroit, which was not very good, for no quarterbacks pretty much his whole career in Detroit, he was the focal point. He was the Josh Allen of running backs at that time. Think about it, right? You knew Barry was getting the ball, and you still couldn't really stop him. He still was good. He was going to get something, right? He was. Imagine him playing in Dallas.
Oh, forget it. He had 2,500 yards.
Right? Who knows how many Super Bowl? He was
the best runner of all time. I wouldn't say the best. I wouldn't say the best running back. To me, that's Walter Payton. I didn't really. I believe. Look, go check 1977.
I get it. I just.
No. Seriously, there's a video of Walter Payton when 1977. What he did in 1977 was probably the greatest year of any running back ever. It was unbelievable, and I always loved Peyton growing up. Earl Pearl was my next guy, but I really started hitting my prime with Barry, and Barry was my guy. But I went back and really started to check 1977. Walt, they did a whole year about it. What this guy did with no quarterback, no offense, it's unbelievable. That to me is the tipping point for my pick.
Yeah. I hear you. I feel like Barry was the same way. No quarterback, no offensive line. He was I never seen a running back.
He's unique. You'll never see anybody like that again.
Yeah, do what he did.
He's like Mozart of running backs.
Yeah, and then the other guy, if you want to talk about short, unbelievable seasons, O.J. Simpson was unbelievable when he came out.
Eric Dickerson,
the size and speed. Yeah, there's even
really amazing. Though.
I'll even throw another one out there that And a matter of fact, I got a video. Hold on, real quick. I know you're trying to get off, but this is because they actually made fun of, because this is something. This is real for all you Nintendo nerds out there.
Bye. See, Peter, he's too fast. You gotta tackle me. It's B. You gotta press B. I'm pressing B. He's too fast. Going over here? Going over here now? Never get tired.
That's great. That's great. Is that Tecmo Bowl?
Yes, Bo Jackson, the greatest player ever on Tecmo Bowl. You could not tackle him. He could not get, and yeah. So in real life, Bo Jackson, before the hip pull, which is a freak injury, like that is a freak. Like, guy was running so hard that his leg got pulled, his hip got pulled out, and then he had like a blood clot. Like, he did bad luck. But that dude was probably, like, who knows where his career would have went, because he was a unbelievable athlete. Even in baseball, like, he was just
he was a total freak.
He was a freak. Like, really honest, like, when's the last time you saw a freak athlete do the dual sports, two sports, right? So we had Deion Sanders, but Deion Sanders was amazing, but he wasn't a freak, like, physical specimen like Bo Jackson, right? You had some players, but
special guy.
Yeah, but Bo Jackson, yeah, like who knows where his career would have went? I have no idea, but it sucks. Yeah, too short, man, too short. But anyways, guys, this was a fun show, Curtis. I appreciate you coming on here.
I love you, man. It's always great.
Yeah, we will be back next week on Ace Per Head, NFL Overtime, same time, 9:30. It won't be on here. It'll be on Ace Per Head. Because we alternate. So week to week, we'll be on one channel, go on the other channel. So next week, like I said, 9:30, be there, guys. We'll be talking once again about the NFL, and we'll recap week 4 and preview week 5. Tomorrow, I got fantasy football at 1, Fantasy Kingdom with Mikey at 6 o'clock. I got AFC East Shakedown. Unfortunately, Captain D, he went through the hurricane. I'm not sure if I told you, Curtis, he lived in Cape Coral. Prayers go out to the families too, but luckily for him, it wasn't, he had some damage, but not too bad like other people got it. But he is in Tampa right now, I believe, staying somewhere where they set him up with electricity or whatever. So he won't be there. Yeah. So shout out to Captain D, man. He's going through a rough time right now. But Saturday, yeah. And then Saturday night, at 8:30, we have a new show, a Backdoor Bills Talk, with Jason and Sonny. Join them at 8:30. I will see you post game right after the Ravens game. So go Bills, Bills Mafia #1. Curtis, thank you again, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Everyone, appreciate you. Peace out. Go Bills.